This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and I'm with Catherine Young, who is the GGG Borough Councillor in Clarendon and Horsley. And I'm going to be asking her about the debate on the acceptance of advice not to proceed with a review before the statutory period for the local plan in 2 years' time. Good morning, Catherine. Thank you for joining the Guildford Dragon and giving your time.
That's all right, Martin. It's good to see you as always.
Thank you. And right, so first of all, can you describe the impact of the local plan so far in your constituency and generally in parts of the borough that you've been observing?
Yes, I can, Martin, because I think if you look at what's going on over in our direction, so I'm Clarendon and Horsley. The Horsley is particularly affected because of the number of allocated sites. What it does for me is it shows the real impact of the local plan and how awful that is. So across the Horsleys, there's 4 allocated sites. 2 1/3 of those have been approved. 1 has outline permission and 1 has yet to come forward. It's going to increase the housing stock of West Horsley alone around 40%. It's destroying our local character and our heritage. Although the neighbourhood plan has obviously given some consideration at planning committee, it's not been given full weight. So the whole business of what the local plan was trying to do is actually being really keenly felt over here, because our character and our landscape setting is just being ruined in front of our eyes.
Okay, and the neighbourhood plan, which was also ratified, if you like, at the same meeting, that plays second fiddle to the local plan. That's correct, isn't it?
Well, that was the West Clarendon neighbourhood plan, and it shouldn't really. The neighbourhood plans are very important. They are part of the development plan, so they have to be given the same level of weight. But of course, it all comes down to the balance at the end. And of course, the public benefit is deemed that we need more housing. But that just isn't the case, I'm afraid.
Okay. Now, you voted against the motion to accept the advice. What did you think of that advice that came from a planning barrister, an expert after all?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, my view from my commercial background is the advice you get is only as good as the brief that you gave. And it could be that that brief was heavily weighted to particular aspects, such as the need to develop the town centre, which I totally support, by the way, because it would give us more houses in a far more sustainable locations than we have in some of our outer villages. But I don't feel it went far enough. I don't think it explored the real options. One of those, for example, is about the adjustment of the Greenbelt boundaries and the insetting of the 13, 14 villages that happened. And my view, when I read the NPPF, very simply, it doesn't say, it categorically states that boundaries can only be reviewed for the Greenbelt, demonstrating exceptional circumstances through a local plan process. That's plan making, review, or whatever. So it doesn't actually say you can't put them back in. Neither does it say you can't remove them. It just says adjust. So my view is that if we are seeing exceptional circumstances and we have constraints such as the Greenbelt, our AONB, the lack of infrastructure, there are exceptional circumstances for reviewing the Greenbelt boundaries and potentially putting some of these villages back in. So it's as straightforward as that. And I'm not quite sure that people got that through the advice that was presented to us.
But it was expert advice, wasn't it?
Yes, of course it was. And I don't think Guildford Greenbelt Group, we weren't challenging that as such. It was more about the independent factor. You cannot say that it wasn't professionally given, it was legally given. It wasn't a question of that. It was more how independent was that? And also the quality of what we got. We've loads of people, CPRE, many campaign groups, local councils around us, they're all challenging their figures at the moment, and they're all looking at different ways of delivering their housing. But ours seems very limited, and we're not taking that risk to actually get on and deal with the local plan, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, now by voting against, am I right in thinking that you believe that it would have been better to take the risk and review now?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is, because I think, there are a lot of figures around, and at times they're difficult to grasp by everybody. But essentially what we're saying is the original plan adopted in 2019 gave us 562 dwellings per annum. We are, if you look at last year's monitoring report, and so far we've only got the 2021, so it runs from April to April. We haven't seen the figures for 21 to 22. But those figures on the previous year show that we are running, that we are over delivering. We've got 7 years plus housing supply. And if you looked at those figures in depth, it looks like we're delivering almost 1,000 homes, more than we actually, above the 562, the original figure. So,
562 houses per year, you mean?
Was the original figure,
yes.
yes. So if we are oversupplying, and we can show now that we have got this sort of bank of housing delivery, then that figure is higher than what we would then get as part of this standard method that everybody talks about, which might give us around 780, 800 more homes. So we're under that, and I think this is what everybody's struggling to really grasp. And to me, if we were getting expert opinion, those figures could have been presented quite clearly so that people understand we are already delivering more than we need.
Okay, but the advice actually also said that the council should bring forward, as far as it can, because it doesn't own these strategic sites, but it should encourage them to be brought forward. And I just wondered, what do you think about that for Wisley, for instance, where the infrastructure issue, i.e. the improvement of the road facilities in the area, have not taken place, and the government has delayed them?
Well, I mean, that's a crucial issue, isn't it, Martin? We don't know what's going to happen with this M25 Junction 10. I mean, the very fact that it's been deferred 3 times now, there's clearly an issue there. And yes, that does impact the strategic sites, because also we don't have the improvements on the A3 at the other end of the borough along the Hog's Back. So, that is a critical issue. And also the problem with the strategic sites, they haven't come forward as yet. I mean, I know somebody said on Tuesday night, there hasn't been a spade in the ground yet. So that is a problem. But in terms of what we're delivering so far on the allocated sites, we've got far more windfalls coming forward, where people are developing speculatively in their green fields and their gardens. That figure is really increasing. Every time we have an allocated site, the figure in the local plan is an approximate number. It's always higher. I haven't yet seen it as lower. So we've got this true development creep. So there is still plenty coming forward. And if we had the town centre master plan, which, as I mentioned before, we support, we could see 3,500 more homes in the town centre, which is far more a sustainable location, and it's where people want to live.
But that's not going to take away the strategic site from the local plan, is it?
No, it's not. That's true. It's not. But
and also, isn't it the fact that because Wisley hasn't been developed, there's more pressure on the nearby villages in the meantime?
Yes, you can definitely see it like that. We have had no infrastructure delivered as yet, despite the fact that, nearly 4 allocated sites have been delivered. There's no increase in local medical provision, local schooling, the whole road system, there's nothing. Instead, we get offered replacement bus stops and dial-a-ride bus service, so it is having an impact locally.
Yeah. So are you optimistic now, or well, I guess you're not? And the character of your villages, how badly has it been affected?
Well, I mean, it's devastating, Martin, to be honest. The first allocated site that went through is in the heart of West Horsley's conservation area. So no preservation of the local character, of our heritage, of the setting that's within. We are now faced with a very cramped 40-house development. They're almost looking in each other's bedrooms. It's pretty soulless in terms of how it's been actually developed, and it just doesn't fit into where it actually is. So it's, you know, and the house prices, I think there's a 4-bedroom for 1.9 million. So it just
these are
doesn't
not
make
affordable
sense.
houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
But and the feeling of your constituents, I mean, how angry are they, and who do they blame?
well, they're incredibly angry, and this is why I'm making a stand on it, because, you know, I was elected obviously in 2019. We went round, I campaigned alongside my 2 fellow ward councillors from R4GV on, you know, we would do all that we possibly could to get a review of the local plan underway and to see what could be done about reversing the insetting and bringing back, you know, potentially greenfield, or at least having some sort of moratorium on the amount of development on this side of the borough. So, you know, I just feel that I need to do as much as I possibly can and keep challenging what we're doing.
But
And at the end of the day,
sorry, but who do your constituencies, do they blame the local council, or do they blame the national planning policy?
they blame the Conservatives. The Conservatives give us the plan that we have. It's as simple as that.
So I see. So they associate it with that particular party because they're in government and they were in charge of the council at the time the local plan went through. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And I just want to say something about this, Martin. You know, it was raised on Tuesday night by GGG's group leader, Ramsey Nagati. You know, why aren't we sitting down with Michael Gove? Other councils are doing this around us. You know, we need to be a leader, not a follower in this. We need to actually sit down. We've got 4 MPs across our borough, and we are not sitting down and saying, we have a problem here. You know, we haven't yet had released the ONS figures. It's quite clear they've been recognised as being overstated because of student migration. We don't have the road systems in place and the infrastructure that we need, and clearly the population is declining. So my view is we need to be sitting down. If we are going to influence government agenda, and we use this on Tuesday night as one of the constraints around why we're not progressing, but you know, the government agenda is so mixed, so we need to be influencing that upwards. So okay. I'm sorry, I just feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, well, understandably. And of course, one of those MPs in the borough, within the borough, or whose constituency overlaps the borough boundary, is Michael Gove.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, I mean, I'm not talking about NIMBYism, but we're in the southeast. The southeast has got a problem. We've got too much in terms of our housing. So, you know, why aren't we sitting down with Michael Gove? That would be, you know, at least my view has always been, you don't ask, you don't get. So there's no harm in asking, is there?
Okay, well, on that note, I think I'll draw this to a close now, but thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martin.